We're going to talk about a couple former first-round picks the Browns could target in free agency. But really quickly here, the boss man said if we do not gain 25 subscribers off of today's episode, we will not have a studio for Wednesday live shows. And I'm not joking because here at Chat Sports, we're going through a lot of construction. We're probably down about 30 to 25% of studio space, so it's coming at a premium, and we got to get 25 subscribers off of today's episode to make sure we have room to do our show every single Wednesday. So ESPN put out a pretty interesting article where it talked about all 32 teams and what they need to do in the offseason. And those articles are always fun to click on, but it's always a bit of a bummer because you kind of have an idea of what it's going to say, and sure enough, for the Browns, biggest thing this offseason, biggest question mark is, what do they do at quarterback? So they outlined two former first-round picks that the Cleveland Browns could target in free agency, which will kick off on March 10th. The first one is a guy we have not talked about a ton on the channel, so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Daniel Jones. Not a very fun name right now. You're probably not going to get a lot of butts and seats. It's not going to move the needle much for the fan base if we get a notification. The Savior has arrived. It's Danny Dimes. So here's the background on the former 6 overall pick. He was benched by the Giants after their Week 10 loss. Then he got released about a week and a half later because the Giants just horribly mishandled the entire situation. They themselves said we did not anticipate releasing him after benching him, but then they demoted him to third string. They weren't going to start Drew Lock. The whole thing was very weird. He didn't want to be there anymore, so he ultimately gets released. He goes to the Vikings, and hopefully he learned a thing or two from Kevin O'Connell because Sam Darnold sure looked pretty good this year, learning a thing or two from Kevin O'Connell, and that could be a nice little, 6-week rehab that he needed. But I want to say no thank you, but I also have to keep in mind, can't be that picky. There's just not a great option out there. Whether it's in the draft, whether it's in free agency, in the trade market, there's just not a lot of great options at quarterback, which this happens from time to time. Like you go back to the 2022 offseason. Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis were the top guys in the draft. There were no notable quarterback signings in free agency. Sometimes it's just bad timing. And unfortunately, I think that's what's going on here. As much as we might try to manifest it into, no, there's plenty of good options out there, I don't think that's the case here. But we can't be too picky because, we need a quarterback, and that's unfortunately where we are right now. So we could talk about Jones for a moment as a player and whether or not there is something deeper here that the Browns could unravel and get some good play out of him. Because his 2022 season, it's sad to say that that's his best season. 3,200 yards and 15 touchdowns is like the calling card. He was probably, I bet his best season was actually his rookie season. So it's very depressing to see him get worse as he's gone along in his NFL career. But at the end of the day, the Browns do need to sign 2 veteran free agent QBs. They signed Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley last year. Deshaun Watson is not going to be a part of this team's football activities for the entire 2025 offseason and then regular season. And so that leaves you with 1 QB really on the roster, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So I anticipate the Browns signing 2 veterans, so 3, and then bringing in a rookie, 4, which is exactly the number they had last year during the offseason with Watson, Huntley, Winston, and DTR. I expect there to be 4 healthy quarterbacks by the end of April when the draft is over. So if you want to take a flyer on Jones, that's fine with me. You got to sign 2 anyway. So if you don't like DJ, hopefully like the other veteran option more or the rookie. But I'm okay with throwing a dart at the board for Daniel Jones given how well Sam Darnold played under Kevin O'Connell, and maybe Kevin Stefanski feels like this is a quarterback that can fit my offense well, and things didn't go well in New York because of Daniel Jones, maybe because the offensive line was awful. It was truly one of the worst O-lines in football last year and this year. Not that the Browns' offensive line has been much better, but that could be something that Stefanski points to and goes, listen, I don't have a ton of great options to begin with, but there is some potential with Jones here. He's got good mobility, and if you're signing two anyway, maybe this is one to roll the dice on. So would you sign Daniel Jones? I'd say no. There are other veteran options I would pursue. None of them are all that great of an option, but I would still probably go down a different route like Mac Jones, for example. Now, the other first-round quarterback that was mentioned is Justin Fields. Oyefusi from ESPN said the Browns could opt for a mid-tier free agent such as Daniel Jones or Justin Fields and pair him with a rookie quarterback in 2025. So, next up is a quarterback that Browns fans and Buckeye fans are quite familiar with, and someone we've talked about before on the channel, which is why I wanted to start things off with Jones, because he's gotten very little airtime. That way, we kind of switch it up a little bit and leave no stone unturned. So, right off the jump, I'll say I still believe in Justin Fields. That might not be a very popular opinion right now. His stock is not very high. Things started to go downhill a little bit in Chicago towards the end. He starts off the year pretty well for the Steelers, goes 4-2, but they don't really utilize him, I think, to his full potential. They kind of kept a leash on him, and he played more like a 1930 style of football than, 2030. But I still think there is starting potential in Justin Fields. However, we have to acknowledge the concerns, the red flags. Since 2021, when he entered the NFL, he is fourth amongst all quarterbacks in sacks taken. He is fifth in interceptions and fumbles, but he is 20th in games started. These are way too big of numbers to begin with. But the more games you play, the more opportunities to get sacked and get fumbles on you and interceptions. He's not playing enough games to be top 5 in these two categories right here. So the negative plays are a huge red flag when it comes to Fields. But the positives are intriguing. You go back through his time in Chicago, his best season, kind of the best stretch, 2022 to 2023, last 2 years in the Windy City. And not only did he have some awesome plays and highlights, and maybe that's just it. He's kind of a highlight guy, but you can't get consistency from out of all 4 quarters. But on the ground, he's a huge threat as well, especially in 2022. 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. So there are some really good upside, potential and characteristics to Fields' games. But I think the 3 concerns I have with him is the sacks, the turnovers, and the lack of consistency from quarter number 1 to quarter number 4. He kind of seems to pick and choose which half he wants to play good football, and that can be infuriating to an NFL head coach. But beggars can't be choosers. But, if there was a quarterback in free agency that Kevin Stefanski could sell himself on for the ceiling, it would have to be Fields. You just look around the room here for the realistic options. Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, 36-year-old Kirk Cousins. Justin Fields, the ceiling might be something where Stefanski goes, I know that there are issues here, and those issues, by the way, have completely derailed the Browns' offense the last 2 seasons. They were second this year in sacks allowed, and they have led the NFL in turnovers back-to-back seasons. So this kind of screams bad idea. The Browns need to get away from quarterbacks who turn the ball over and take a lot of sacks. That was a huge contributor to a 3-win season. But I just can't seem to get past the highlight moments. And there are a lot of them. It's not like few and far between. So if Stefanski puts on a couple of highlight tapes, like if someone makes a nice Tavon Austin highlight tape for Justin Fields, the guy might be a Cleveland Brown on the second or third day of the new league year. So can't be too picky when you're begging for a new quarterback, but Fields does have, at least in my eyes, I'm still kind of, I wouldn't say in love, but choosing to believe he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And that could age poorly, and I won't plant my flag on this hill, but I will say it with, my chest kind of out. So pick a quarterback for me, Justin Fields or Daniel Jones. If you had to have one come to Cleveland, which one would it be? I would take Fields. I think his ceiling is higher than Daniel Jones's, and the floor for the two of them are not that far off. So I'm taking Fields, but I do want to hear from you down below in the comment section which quarterback you want to see the Browns pursue. We're going to talk about one more kind of bonus quarterback, the bonus Jonas, in just a second here. But first things first, an awesome deal right now on Fanatics that I found. You can go to chatsports.com/CLE sale. And I think this Browns t-shirt's pretty cool. It's got an awesome back to it, and it's 25% off. Now, these deals on Fanatics, they come and go. So if you think about it for 1 or 2 days and decide, okay, I want to pull the trigger, well, the deal might be over. So if you're on the fence about it, just get it now. You're saving yourself money with this type of savings, and that way you can have an awesome piece of Browns gear in your closet for the summer. Let's bring in a third first-round quarterback, I just realized, and that is Aaron Rodgers. So it's official. We talked about this earlier this week, but now that it's kind of officially official, we can rehash it over again one more time. The Jets are moving out from Aaron Rodgers. He will likely be a post-June 1 designation release, but he will be released at the start of the new league year. I'm going to make this abundantly clear. I have zero interest in signing Rodgers. Signing Aaron Rodgers to me is a publicity stunt for the Browns. It is them trying to recapture the heart of the fans going, can we sell you a former MVP? The issue is that guy is not coming back. The 2021 Aaron Rodgers, he ain't here anymore. How do I know that? 3 straight seasons of either 10 or more interceptions or missing an entire year at the young age of 40 years old with an Achilles tear. I am going to be a doubter. I can be Aaron Rodgers' bulletin board material if needed. His time is done. And I don't want the Browns to just try and buy in on a quarterback when it was 4 years ago. No thanks. Adios. The Browns are going to sign 2 veterans, so if they sign Rodgers, they better sign another veteran too. But if plan A is Aaron Rodgers, that is a bad plan. Let's pick a card here to wrap up today's episode. Mr. Bartkus, which card do you want to go with?
Let's go with Jack of Diamonds.
Jack of Diamonds. I'm going to say, I was thinking 5 of spades, but I'm going to audible to 3 of diamonds. No, this one was on the show a few days ago. 8 of spades. 8 of spades. I swear, if you just stick with one card, you'll get it like 5 times. And I shuffle a lot like before the show even starts, so I don't know. But that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see everyone tomorrow.